Hello, Saints. We're in Galatians, still chapter 1, and we're going to look at Paul's introduction there. Now, last time we talked about where he got right to the point, and where he says, I'm amazed that you're so quickly deserting him who called you by the grace of Christ for a different gospel. But now, as he gets through that, what we did last time, he wants to set up his credentials, defends his ministry. And so that picks up in verse 11. We're going to look at verses 11 to 24. That's a lot of text for today, but that's where he begins to defend himself. He says, For I would have you know, brethren, that the gospel which was preached by me is not according to man. For neither I received it from man, nor was I taught it, but I received it through a revelation of Jesus Christ. He got it directly from Jesus. It wasn't taught to him in channels by other human beings. This isn't a human message. This is a heavenly message, and he got it directly from Jesus Christ. He says, For you have heard, verse 13, of my former manner of life in Judaism, how I used to persecute the church of God beyond measure and tried to destroy it. And I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my contemporaries among my countrymen, being more extremely zealous for my ancestral traditions. But when God, who had set me apart even from my mother's womb, and called me through his grace, was pleased to reveal his Son to me, so that I might preach him among the Gentiles. I did not immediately consult with flesh and blood, nor did I go up to Jerusalem to those who were apostles before me, but I went away to Arabia, and returned once more to Damascus. Then, 3 years later, I went up to Jerusalem to become acquainted with Cephas, many people pronounce it Cephas, and stayed with him 15 days. The name Cephas is from the Aramaic. It means stone, and where we get the word Peter in Aramaic. He says, so he stayed with him just over 2 weeks. Verse 19, he picks it up, but I did not see any other of the apostles except James, the Lord's brother. He says, now in what I'm writing to you, I assure you before God that I am not lying. Then I went into the regions of Syria and Cilicia, and I was still unknown by sight to the churches of Judea, which were in Christ. But only they kept hearing, he who once persecuted us is now preaching the faith which he once tried to destroy. And they were glorifying God because of me, that God could save even someone like Paul. So here's his credentials. He says, I would have you know, brethren, that the gospel which I preach isn't my gospel, isn't something I got from man, but from Jesus himself. You've heard about how I lived before, about what life I was before, as a Jew looking to destroy the church. But that's all changed. And now this is important for us to get. This is part of the timeline that we'll pick up on later. He was in Damascus. He left Damascus, went to Arabia. Now that's where he went to Mount Sinai. And then he came back and was in there for 3 years in Damascus before he went down to Jerusalem. So when we read the story about how they let Paul down from the basket to get him out of Damascus, that was after 3 years, and that was after his return from Arabia. And just before he went down to see Cephas or Peter there in Jerusalem. So this is a very important part of the storytelling. And here he sets up who he is, his credentials, how he was called, who he once was, how he tried to destroy the church, but now he's building the church. And he's building it by preaching the message to the Gentiles or the Goyim. So Paul is now ready to talk about the council at Jerusalem. And we think that this council here may be connected with the council of Acts 15. And some think it's a different council, but we'll let you decide. Next time, blessings.